Meet Mona Kawai, a girl so beautiful she's basically been a walking spotlight since she was in diapers. Seriously, wherever she goes, all eyes are on her. It's like the universe bends over backward to worship her. In every game of tag, everyone wanted to be it, just to be caught by her. She's been the undisputed queen bee her entire life. When high school rolls around, Mona moves to Tokyo. New city, same story. Heads turn, jaws drop, and students swoon the second she walks through the doors of her new school. Well, almost everyone. Enter Medica, a mysterious transfer student who joined the school 2 weeks earlier. He's the only guy Mona's ever met who actively frowns whenever she's around. While everyone else is enchanted, this dude looks like he's staring at a math test every time she says hi. Naturally, Mona tries to be friendly. She flashes her signature smile, the one that usually makes people melt, but Medica just tells her to back off. This throws the entire class into confusion. Why would anyone reject Mona Kawai? For Mona, being ignored is a serious blow to her royal pride. But she's not the type to give up. Nope. She's determined to make this stone-faced boy fall under her spell. Soon she notices something. Medica likes cats. So she starts purring around him like a little kitten, complete with nya noises. Her fan club goes wild, but Medica? He simply tells Ron Ron to keep her distance. Strike one. Mona's confused. Since she was a kid, people lined up to confess their love to her, even grown-ups. The idea of someone not falling head over heels for her? Inconceivable. Still, she's convinced he's not unbreakable. It's time for the big guns. Weapon number 1. Those legs. She knows exactly what drives boys crazy. So she slaps a poster of her thighs right onto Medica's face, but instead of blushing, he frowns and walks off. Strike 2. Next up, the accidental panty flash. She pretends to fall, looking all flustered and cute. The boys around her panic, trying to act like they saw nothing. Mona anxiously glances at Medica, hoping for some sign of embarrassment, but all she gets is another signature frown as he walks away again. Strike 3. It's clear, Medica is immune. So she plays her final card. During class, she fakes being sick and asks to go to the nurse's office. The teacher tells her to bring someone with her, so Mona, bold as ever, throws herself on Medica and declares he'll be her escort. The class is left speechless, but Mona doesn't care. This is war. In the infirmary, she pulls out the classic shy girl move. "Do you hate me or something? Did I do something wrong?" she asks, all innocent-like. Medica seems rattled at first, and Mona thinks, "Gotcha." But just as quickly, he composes himself again. Still, she presses on. She drags him further into the room and whoops, trips on the curtain. The two of them fall right onto the infirmary bed. Even Mona's stunned by how far she's gone with this. She apologizes, but when Medica looks at her with the same deadpan face, her pride snaps. Unable to take the rejection, she throws all her shame out the window and unbuttons her shirt, exposing her chest. In that moment, her queen complex overrides all logic. But even then, Medica doesn't budge. He just blushes, then sighs and tells her to get a grip. Crushed, Mona pouts, flails, and nearly falls off the bed. Medica catches her, gentle for once, and asks if she's okay. That kindness throws her off. Then she remembers her top is still open and panics, yelling at him to let her go. Medica leaps back and insists he meant nothing pervy, then says something that actually lands, "You should only do that with someone you truly love." Boom, instant impact. As he walks out, Mona screams, "Why does he make me feel this way?" For once, she doesn't know how to handle her own emotions. Back in class, everyone asks if she's feeling better. She sits down next to Medica and thanks him quietly for helping her while she was sick. But she can't even look him in the eye. His mere presence makes her flustered. Is this love? She smacks herself to stop thinking such nonsense, but now she's more fired up than ever. She will make Medica fall for her, no matter what. The next day, Mona enters the school like usual, greeted by fans and admirers left and right. In her head, she's humming her "I'm So Pretty" theme song. But then Medica shows up and cuts through her fantasy with a cold, indifferent, "Good morning." She greets him sweetly, and again, he responds like it's a chore. Sigh. In gym class, Mona puts her athleticism on full display. Her fans eat it up, all except, yep, you guessed it, Medica. She calls out to him directly. Nothing. She's tried everything. Her curves, her charm, her confidence, but he won't budge. Then she remembers one last hidden asset. Not as intense, but maybe just enough. Her belly button. After gym, she casually wipes sweat off her waist, letting her midriff and belly peek through. It's subtle, elegant, seductive, but still nothing from Medica. Mona's mission continues. Everyone felt blessed by Mona's subtle show of her waist and belly button after gym class. Everyone except Medica, of course, who once again frowned and walked off. Another defeat. Mona, the undefeated queen bee, had officially found her greatest challenge. A guy who wouldn't even flinch at her ultimate charm tactics. Frustrated but determined, she paused for water, something innocent enough. Yet Medica started looking visibly uncomfortable. Sensing his reaction, Mona got a spark of hope. She mischievously twisted the faucet, soaking her shirt and revealing her bra underneath. Medica instantly turned crimson and shouted in shock. Mona screamed too, realizing her top had become see-through. Panicking, she tried to cover herself but couldn't return to the locker room like that. Then, in a surprisingly chivalrous moment, Medica took off his own shirt and handed it to her without a word. Mona turned even redder, this time not from embarrassment, but from seeing his toned abs. She'd planned for him to see her belly, and now she had seen his. Blushing, she quietly thanked him while he left without another word, still shirtless. What neither of them realized was that a classmate had seen the whole thing. Later that night, Medica was at home, staring at the now worn shirt Mona had returned. He couldn't help but wonder, did it now smell like her? That thought alone made him blush like mad. Meanwhile, Mona's personal fan club was interrogating Medica. "Why do you always act so cold around her? She's Mona Kawai." That's when Medica dropped the truth bomb. He's the heir of a sacred cat temple and is forbidden from getting close to women. He'd never even had a girlfriend before. His village was made up of old men and goats. Let's not think too hard about that part. Suddenly, his distant behavior made sense to everyone. What Medica didn't expect was that moving to the city would land him right into the jaws of temptation. Temptation with perfect hair, long lashes, and dangerously short skirts. Girls like Mona were something he'd only seen on TV, and now one was practically throwing herself at him. He reminded himself of his vow, clear mind, pure heart. But resisting Mona wasn't going to be easy. The next day in class, Mona gave him his shirt back. Medica looked nervous while Mona teased him, saying she could have kept it just for his scent. Medica blushed but put on his signature scowl. He wasn't going to give in that easily. In art class, Mona took the chance to be Medica's model, hoping he'd finally see her true beauty. She even joked about posing nude. Medica just deadpanned. Mona had a new plan, recreate the same pose he saw after gym class. The whole class was in awe of her, but Medica painted her calmly without flinching. Another failure. Frustrated, Mona noticed Haruno, a quiet girl who had been watching them. Then Mona caught Medica staring too, at her neck of all places, intensely focused while painting. That single serious gaze made Mona flustered and uncomfortable. She ran out for air, wishing he'd look at her like that more often. Back in the library, Mona sat beside Medica and tried to act like Haruno, calm, elegant, and smart. She put on glasses and read with sophistication. Medica blushed slightly. Encouraged, Mona took it further and began rubbing his leg with her foot. But Medica stood his ground like a monk. Clear mind, pure heart. He didn't budge. Yet again, Mona noticed Haruno's gaze, fixed on Medica. That's when it clicked. She's in love with him. Alarm bells went off in her queen bee brain. Haruno was gentle, quiet, kind, and modest. Basically, Mona's complete opposite. Mona freaked out. How could she compete with such a soft and sweet rival? She began tailing Haruno and concluded, this girl was dangerously likable. One of those secret boss types in disguise. When a nerdy guy handed Mona a book she wanted, she thanked him and said, "I like it." That's when it hit her. She'd never said something so direct to Medica. Maybe it was time. She went to the rooftop where Medica was and threw him a handkerchief. It was her signal, her chance to say what she felt. But the words wouldn't come. Her mouth moved, but nothing came out. She started panicking. Then the wind blew her skirt up. Embarrassed, she called Medica a perv just to distract from the moment. Smooth. Real smooth. Later, during class elections for the school festival, fate decided Mona and Haruno would be partners. Mona was horrified. Haruno was excited. Even worse. This girl didn't even see her as a rival. That stung. Things got weird when Haruno got nervous about showing her phone. Mona chased her down, yelling she wouldn't get mad, unless it had to do with stealing her Medica. Monara finally caught up with Haruno and peeked at her phone, only to find hundreds of pictures of herself. Haruno hadn't wanted her to see that, fearing Mona would get upset for being secretly watched. Turns out, Haruno wasn't stalking her out of spite. She was just Mona's biggest fan, with over 300 photos saved and one even set as her lock screen. Relieved that Haruno wasn't after Medica, Mona blurted out that she should still stay away from Medica. To cover up her jealousy, she quickly clarified that she meant her pet fish named Medica, not the boy in their class. Haruno, however, wasn't fooled. She had been observing Mona closely and knew she was completely smitten. It was obvious to everyone by now, even if Mona kept denying it. As the school festival approached, Mona wasn't feeling her usual confident self. She still hadn't cracked Medica's cold exterior, and Haruno kept implying that she was head over heels in love with him. Haruno encouraged her to use the festival as the perfect opportunity to win over her knight. And she wasn't wrong. There was even a rumor that couples who held hands on the love bridge would be bound together forever. Their class decided to open a cosplay cafe. Mona tried on various costumes to see if she could finally make Medica's heart skip a beat. She even dared to try a bunny girl outfit, but it was too much, even for her. Unfortunately, or fortunately, Medica walked in at that exact moment. Flustered, Mona tried to explain she was just trying on costumes, while Medica silently chanted his usual mantra, "Clear mind, calm spirit." When Haruno was about to enter, Mona panicked. She didn't want her to see her in that outfit and think she was desperate. Without thinking, she dragged Medica into a cramped hiding spot. The two of them ended up practically nose to nose. Mona could feel his breath. Their hearts were racing, hers especially. Medica, as always, tried to stay composed. Eventually, Haruno left and they stepped out. Mona felt sure she had made progress. But Medica, true to form, remained completely unshaken. Later, as Mona checked herself in the mirror, she muttered that she looked more provocative than cute. Unaware, she said it aloud. Medica overheard and unexpectedly replied, "You look beautiful." Mona lit up, thinking she'd finally won him over, only for him to completely ignore her again right after. When the festival began, the cafe was a hit, mostly thanks to Mona attracting customers. Sari dropped by, hoping to see Medica, but he was in the kitchen. Mona encouraged him to take a break and eat something, but he declined. Since their awkward moment earlier, Medica had seemed even more distant, but Mona wasn't giving up. Today was the day she'd settle things. Haruno, ever the secret Cupid, arranged for Medica and Mona to promote the cafe together around the school. Mona saw this as the perfect chance. She had planned a tour of booths meant to spark all kinds of emotional reactions. Unfortunately, Medica wanted to start with the haunted house, something Mona absolutely hated. Determined, she went in anyway. But midway through, she panicked, her skirt got caught on a prop, and she bolted out of there in sheer terror. Every single plan she had made fell apart. Just when she was about to give up, they reached the legendary Love Bridge. The place was filled with couples holding hands, believing in the myth that they'd be bound together forever. Meanwhile, back at the cafe, everything was falling apart without Medica around. He was the only one who could cook properly, and the others were struggling. On the bridge, some students assumed Mona was there with her boyfriend. Not wanting anyone to think she actually liked Medica, she pretended they were there promoting the cafe's couples campaign. It worked, for now. But Mona couldn't let the opportunity slip away. She told Medica the legend and gently took his hand, hoping to make his heart race. It did. She pushed further, faking a twisted ankle so he'd hold her hand longer. But instead, Medica did the unthinkable. He scooped her up bridal style and calmly told her they had to hurry back. Mona turned red as a tomato, scolding herself for always getting flustered around him when it should be the other way around. Time was running out for the festival, and Mona needed to act fast. But back at the classroom, they were swamped with customers thanks to the couple promotion, and the staff needed help. Mona looked like she had given up hope. But once again, Haruno came to the rescue, assigning Medica to help Mona carry the cafe tables. As they carried tables together in silence, Mona was too defeated to pull any new stunts. The tension hung in the air until she quietly asked Medica if he'd enjoyed the festival. Mona stumbles over some boxes, nearly getting hit by one, but Medica catches her just in time, grabbing her hands. By some twist of fate, it all happens right on the love bridge. Flushed, Medica awkwardly says the legend doesn't count anymore because the festival is already over. Mona, just as flustered, nods in agreement. When Mona asks if he enjoyed the festival, Medica, still red, quietly admits that he felt things he never had before. Her heart skips a beat. As the festival wraps up and couples form left and right, Mona can't stop thinking about that moment. Every time she sees Medica, her chest tightens. She wants to be bold, so she tries. The next day, during a casual hangout with friends, Mona grabs Medica's water bottle and hesitates for a second. Drinking from it would be an indirect kiss. It's risky, but maybe this will shake his stoic heart. She drinks it. But when she turns to see his reaction, his expression is as blank as ever. Another defeat. But the truth is, Medica is shaken. He just hides it too well. The day after, Mona tries to go back to normal and greet Medica like usual, but he coldly brushes her off. His friends have had enough and pull him aside after school. They call him out for always shutting Mona down. Medica explains it's because he's the heir to a sacred cat temple and must avoid worldly desires. But Yuzuru fires back. Does that mean treating others poorly is okay? Their words stick with him. Then Haruno arrives, clearly frustrated. She tells him off too, saying Mona's always kind despite how he acts. Onlookers think they're a couple breaking up. The drama ends with Haruno storming off, and Medica reflects on his behavior. Back in class, Mona forgets her book, and Medica tries to make up for everything by offering to share his. But when Mona tries to pull the desks together, he instinctively moves his away. Hurt, she backs off. Yuzuru and Shiraishi nudge Medica to fix it, and Haruno watches from afar. Medica gathers his courage, apologizes to Mona, and joins the desks so they can read together. His friends cheer quietly, and Haruno snaps a secret photo of Mona smiling, her first small victory. Later, it's raining. On her way to school, Mona bumps into Medica, who's soaking wet. He left his umbrella behind to protect some stray kittens. That warms Mona's heart. But no, she must focus on making his heart race. She offers to share her umbrella. Medica accepts but keeps a polite distance. Mona edges closer, trying to cover them both. At school, they spot the basketball team practicing. One girl, Asagi, stands out with her skills. But when she notices Medica watching her, she freaks out, trips, and launches a ball straight toward Mona's face, only for Medica to heroically block it. Mona's heart pounds again. After the save, Asagi rushes up to Mona and bluntly asks if she and Medica are dating. Shocked by the question, Mona stammers and denies everything. Asagi seems unconvinced and even jealous. Mona starts to wonder, could Asagi like Medica too? Then, it's PE class. Determined not to be outshined, Mona shows off her own basketball skills to stay in Medica's mind. Turns out, Medica sucks at basketball. Perfect. Mona jumps on the chance to teach him, pressing her body against his as she shows him how to shoot. It's bold, even for her, but she won't back down. Just when things get intense, Asagi shows up, furious. She declares war on Mona and insists on training Medica herself, with squats. When she bends down, Medica accidentally sees her cleavage. Mona gasps in horror. No way she's losing this fight. So she copies Asagi and shows her own. The competition heats up fast. Both girls try everything to fluster Medika, who's clearly nearing his limit. Then Asagi drops the ultimate question. So, Medika, do you like them big or small? Medaka snapped and bolted out of the gym. The two love rivals exchanged a tense look, but quickly regretted everything that had just happened. After that chaotic scene, Medaka stopped coming to class. Mona thought maybe it was because of Sagiri's intense flirting, but then she remembered Medika sneezing earlier. Maybe he actually got sick from the rain when he moved away from her under the umbrella. Medaka's friends decided to visit him at home to check on him. Mona overheard their plan and immediately saw an opportunity. Sagiri also caught wind of it and took interest. So Mona ended up following the boys to Medaka's house, with Sagiri close behind. Once the boys left, both girls showed up at his door. Medika was stunned. This was the first time girls had ever come to his house. Both of them barged in confidently, determined to take care of him while he was sick. Mona even dressed up as a nurse to make her treatment more special, only to find out that Sagiri had already put on a full doctor outfit to one-up her. Mona wished she'd gone with the doctor look instead. When Sagiri saw Mona questioning her interest in Medika, she fired back. Unlike Mona, who according to Sagiri only cares about being adored and proving she's irresistible, Sagiri had genuine feelings for Medika. She didn't want him just to prove a point. She actually wanted to be with him. Mona was taken aback, especially when Sagiri got flustered and left to grab some drinks. Before leaving, she warned Mona not to try anything funny with Medika. On her way out, Sagiri remembered how she fell for him. She used to think love at first sight was ridiculous, until it happened. One day, while overhearing some girls talk about it, she bumped into Medika and instantly understood. That one encounter changed everything. Meanwhile, Mona found herself wrestling with the idea that she might actually be in love. She denied it, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling. Back in Medika's room, she sat on the bed beside him as he slept. He suddenly lunged toward her, but it turned out he was just rolling over in his sleep. Looking at his peaceful face, Mona's eyes drifted to his lips. She started leaning in, wondering what it might feel like to kiss him. Just as things were about to get real, Sagiri barged in and blew up, demanding to know why Mona tried to kiss Medika if she claimed not to like him. Flustered, Mona tried to play it off but couldn't explain why she almost kissed him. In a moment of panic, she confessed that the only reason she was obsessed with Medika was because he was the only boy who ever resisted her charms. It was all a game, or at least she told herself that. But Sagiri saw through it. She realized that Mona actually liked him, even if she hadn't accepted it yet. With the truth out, Sagiri formally declared herself as Mona's romantic rival, but also, in a strange way, a friend. Watching from a distance, Haruno was not pleased. She now saw Sagiri as competition, not for Medika, but for Mona's friendship. Eventually, Medika returned to school, and Sagiri nervously faced the boy she had a crush on again. Mona, on the other hand, couldn't even make eye contact with him. She was so rattled by what had happened at his house that every interaction now made her heart race. The most shocking thing was when Medika actually took the initiative to talk to her, something that had never happened before. But Mona avoided the conversation, too embarrassed to deal with it. She made a bunch of excuses, and then fainted. She woke up later in the infirmary, where Medika was watching over her. He thanked her for taking care of him while he was sick, which only made her heart pound faster. Then she realized, did he carry her all the way there? She imagined him holding her in his arms and turned beet red. She tried to tell herself it was just the fever making her feel this way. But no, Medika was starting to get under her skin. Meanwhile, Medika's friends thought it'd be hilarious to set his phone lock screen to a sexy picture of Mona, claiming it would help him build resistance to temptations. Medika stormed off with their phone, determined to delete the picture. But before he did, he took one last look. Clearly, his resistance wasn't what it used to be. Mona had that effect on him. Later, Mona and Haruno were hanging out when Haruno suggested sending a cute photo of Mona to Medika. At first, Mona agreed, but when she saw the picture, she panicked. Anyone who saw that would think she was madly in love with him. She begged Haruno to delete it, but her phone battery died before she could. Now, in full panic mode, Mona ran off to delete the photo from Medika's phone herself. Medaka, hiding out on the rooftop, was secretly looking at the picture one last time before deleting it. That's when Mona showed up. She sternly told him not to look at that picture. Caught red-handed, Medaka's phone slipped out of his hands and landed in hers. When she tried to delete the message, her eyes accidentally landed on his phone's lock screen, and now she was the one stunned. Her photo was right there. Medika quickly explained that it wasn't his idea, that his friends had done it, but Mona didn't say a word. She turned and walked away. Medika had never seen that expression on her face before. Jealousy. Mona was fuming. How dare Medika have another girl's photo when he had her, the most beautiful girl in school, right in front of him? From that moment on, she started giving Medika intense stares every chance she got. But then, she overheard him telling his friends not to put those kinds of pictures on his phone anymore. They just laughed and said, "Come on, every guy needs at least one hot girl as his wallpaper." That's when Mona saw her opportunity. "If you're gonna have a photo of a girl," she declared, "make it mine." She took a quick selfie and sent it to Medika, confident he'd keep it. But he deleted it immediately, afraid of being tempted. Another rejection. Classic Medika. Then Haruno reminded her. Halloween was around the corner. That's it. Halloween was her chance to take a photo so irresistible that Medika would have to make it his phone wallpaper. But she wasn't sure what costume he'd like. She'd already tried the bunny girl, the nurse, and even a sexy mummy. None of them worked. Time to go shopping. The whole group decided to visit a costume store together. To Mona's horror, Azari was also invited. Ugh. At the store, Mona kept a close eye on Azari, who, as expected, was totally indecisive. No problem. Mona then focused on finding out what kind of costume Medika would like. She even snuck up behind the boys to spy. But when she tried to listen in, she got caught lurking and had to hide inside a giant horse costume display. From her hiding spot, she heard Medika point to a costume he liked, but because of the mask, she couldn't see which one it was. Later, when the boys left, she dashed over and found it, a revealing, bold outfit. Way more daring than she expected. But hey, this was war. Mona was willing to do anything to win. Everyone chose their costumes. Haruno picked a fairy outfit, Azari settled on a gothic dress, and Mona, well, she went for the bold mummy costume with very strategically placed bandages. Everyone was stunned. Most assumed she was just being provocative. But Medika? He frowned as usual. Mortified, Mona shouted, "I'm not a pervert!" Turns out the mummy costume had just been hanging near the one Medika liked. All that embarrassment for nothing. To save face, she said it was just a joke and promised to wear her real costume for the actual Halloween party, the one she was sure would finally capture Medika's attention. And when Halloween night arrived, she was ready. Mona had snagged the exact costume Medika had pointed to, witch-themed, stylish, not overly revealing. At the party prep area, girls were changing into their outfits. Haruno wore her fairy costume. Azari ditched the mummy dress for the gothic girl one. Minami even went for a ghost costume that covered her whole face, claiming she felt more confident that way. Mona was nearly ready, but as she reached for her hat, she realized her zipper was down. Just then, someone in a ghost costume approached. Assuming it was Haruno, Mona asked for help. She casually said, "Glad it's just you, Haruno. I'd never ask a guy to do this." The ghost froze. It was Medika. He wanted to say something, but it was too late. Mona had already turned around. Doing his best to keep calm, he helped zip her up. But he was so flustered, Mona thought he might be suffocating inside his costume. She pulled off his mask and screamed. Flustered, she quickly tied a ribbon around Haruno's costume to avoid future confusion. Now focused again, Mona had one mission: to get a picture with Medika that he wouldn't dare delete. Perfect timing. The host of the party announced a couples game. One boy, one girl. The task? Wrap your partner up like a mummy. The best one wins a prize and a couple photo. This was it. But of course, Azari also had her eyes set on Medica. The host handed out random numbers to form pairs. Medica got number 8. Both girls lunged for it and grabbed it at the same time. Azari refused to let go. Mona begged, tugged, pleaded. So Mona pulled the classic trick. "Hey Azari, look, Medica's right behind you." Azari turned, distracted, and Mona snatched the number. Game on. The game kicks off, and as the pairs get ready to mummify each other with rolls of bandages, Haruno spots Mona standing next to Medica and sneakily takes a photo of them together. Meanwhile, Medica starts wrapping Mona, but his obvious hesitation to touch her results in a sloppy job. Other pairs are speeding through the challenge, but Mona and Medica lag behind. Frustrated, Mona pleads with Medica to hold her tighter and wrap her properly, but he struggles to resist the physical contact. Mona, of course, doesn't make things easier. She keeps teasing him, testing his resolve. Unsurprisingly, Haruno and her partner win, and Haruno proudly snaps a commemorative photo with her team. Mona, however, ends up photoless. To make matters worse, other girls start approaching Medica to take pictures with him as a keepsake. They're innocent shots, but Mona can't stand how close they get to him. Irritated, she steps in and says she wants a picture too. But Medica coldly declines, saying he doesn't want any more photos. There's one last group picture, though. Feeling defeated, Mona thinks about how hard she tried, choosing the costume Medica would supposedly like, participating in the event, all for nothing. While they pose for the group shot, Mona grabs Medica's sleeve and, with a tired face, mutters, "You really are an idiot." After the party, Medica can't stop thinking about how Mona seemed off. Yuzuru and Itsuki even comment on the strange way they looked at each other in the group photo. When Mona shows up to greet them the next day, they urge Medica to talk to her. But instead of facing her, he panics and runs off. Mona, embarrassed by her own impulsiveness, regrets trying to talk to him after what happened. She's sure he must be uncomfortable around her now. Later, the teacher pairs them up to clean the storage room. Perfect timing, Mona thinks. It's her chance to fix things. Relying on her charm, she tries to seduce Medica while sweeping the floor, playfully shaking her hips. But Medica, flustered, runs away. Mona follows and accidentally spills a bucket of water on him. Apologizing profusely, she says that no matter what she does, it always ends in disaster, just like the Halloween party where other girls got photos with him and she didn't. Though she doesn't realize it, her jealousy is written all over her face. Before she can say more, Medica apologizes first. He explains that he didn't mean to reject her. He just got overwhelmed by the number of pictures everyone wanted. Mona also apologizes for getting upset over something so silly, though deep down, she's starting to understand that it wasn't so silly after all. That night, Medica stares at the group photo. Then Haruno messages him with the picture she secretly took of Mona during the game. Medica likes the photo so much he sets it as his phone wallpaper. Of course, he scolds himself for doing it, feeling guilty as if he were committing some great sin. In his mind, anything involving a girl is forbidden. Meanwhile, someone else arrives in town, Mona's childhood friend, Tomo. She texts Mona to meet up. Mona asks why she's in Tokyo and if she isn't skipping school, but Tomo just brushes it off. Back at school, Asari spies Medica and blushes, dropping her student ID. Minami teases her, asking what she plans to do to win Medica's heart. When they overhear girls talking about a stolen kiss scene in a romance movie, Minami suggests Asari steal a kiss from Medica. Just then, Medica arrives to return her ID, and Minami pushes her to invite him for lunch. The two end up eating alone on the rooftop. Asari is nervous but happy. She imagines how nice it would be to eat with him like this every day as his girlfriend. Suddenly she goes for it. "Trick or treat?" she asks, referencing Halloween. When Medica says he doesn't have candy, she says she'll play a trick, then leans in and kisses his cheek. Medica is stunned, unsure what just happened, and Asari, too flustered to explain, says nothing. Meanwhile, Mona meets up with Tomo, who's already flirting with guys just like old times. The two girls catch up, but Mona scolds her for dressing provocatively and flirting as soon as she arrives in Tokyo. Tomo shrugs, saying that's just how she is. She accuses Mona of still acting all innocent and clumsy to keep up her image. Tomo reminds Mona how she used to be the queen bee back in school, and while Mona was admired, Tomo would often end up with the boys Mona rejected. Still, Mona had never actually dated anyone, despite being the most beautiful girl around. Tomo asks if Mona likes anyone now, and Mona quickly denies it. But when Medica unexpectedly shows up, she stiffens, blushes, and Tomo immediately grows suspicious. Medica was sent by Sho to grab snacks, but fate had other plans. Just as he approached, Tomo, Mona's childhood friend, spotted him. She immediately clung to his arm and began flirting, like it was second nature. But the moment she caught sight of Mona's expression, she froze. That look said it all, said it. Tomo smirked, realizing Mona's feelings for Medica were real. Sensing a perfect opportunity to tease her, Tomo ramped things up, pretending to flirt harder just to mess with her friend. When Medica nervously asked her to close her sweater a bit because it was too revealing, Tomo boldly asked him to do it for her. As he struggled to zip it up, Tomo let out a dramatic moan, making Mona snap. Mona quickly intervened, telling Medica his order was ready. He left in a flash. Tomo, still amused, laughed at Mona's clear jealousy. Later that day, Tomo confronted Mona. She admitted she knew her friend was in love. Mona denied it, fiercely, but Tomo had seen enough. The next day, the truth hit harder. Tomo wasn't visiting. She was transferring into their school permanently. To keep Mona quiet about her true personality, Tomo threatened to expose her carefully crafted sweet girl image if she acted up. Cornered, Mona had no choice but to accept her loud and fearless friend into her life once again. During introductions, Tomo proudly declared that she was so close to Mona that grabbing her chest was normal. Medica and the others were stunned. Furious, Mona dragged Tomo to the rooftop and scolded her. Tomo apologized, claiming she just wanted Medica to see how amazing Mona's body was. Mona quickly denied being into Medica, but her stammering said otherwise. Tomo baited her, saying someone like Mona couldn't possibly be interested in a dull guy like Medica. But when Mona started listing his qualities, his kindness, reliability, and strange charm, Tomo's trap was confirmed. She knew Mona was head over heels and vowed to help her realize it herself, whether she liked it or not. Later, Tomo met Saji and Minami. She greeted them with ease but told Saji to back off, which only made her more interested. Mona, meanwhile, watched Minami closely, suspicious of anyone near Medica. Then came the bombshell. Minami urged Saji to finally confess something to Mona. She pulled her to the rooftop and nervously admitted that she had kissed Medica. Mona froze. Tomo, eavesdropping, reassured herself that it was probably just a cheek kiss, nothing serious, but Mona was panicking. She didn't know why she felt so crushed, but she couldn't stop thinking about Medica kissing someone else. At home, Mona spiraled. Was this jealousy? She never felt this way before. Even thinking about Medica with someone else made her feel sick. Maybe she really was in love? The next day, Tomo arranged a welcome party and dragged everyone, including Medica, to an amusement park. Mona arrived exhausted from overthinking and zero sleep. When she saw Medica walking in with Tomo, her heart skipped a beat. As Saji and Mona both tried to greet him first, it was clear the love duel was officially on. Tomo had her plans for Mona, but Minami had hers for Saji. Both girls were secretly maneuvering to give their favorite a chance with Medica. The first event, the roller coaster. Saji, pretending to be scared, asked to ride with Medica. Mona froze, unsure of how to act. Sho offered to take Saji's place, but Minami stopped him. This was part of the plan. Tomo pretended she didn't want to ride either, but whispered to Medica to take Mona after he finished with Saji. And so the first ride began. Saji grabbed Medica's hand at the first drop, claiming it helped with the fear. Medica tried to stay calm, reciting his clear mind, calm spirit mantra. But just before the ride peaked, Saji leaned in and whispered, "Everything I said was a lie. I'm not scared of this at all." The roller coaster hit full speed, and Sagi boldly raised Medica's hand to catch more wind, giggling like she was having the time of her life. Watching from behind, Mona couldn't help but feel defeated. Sagi was clearly gaining ground. But now it was Mona's turn. She wasn't sure what to do to catch up with Saji's boldness. Trying to ease into conversation, Mona jokingly asked Medica if he had fallen for Saji. His startled expression made her regret it for a second, but then he calmly denied it, leaving Mona relieved and more confused. To Medica, the question felt like the usual teenage nonsense. Still, he countered with a surprising question. "Do you like someone?" That caught Mona off guard. She fell silent for the rest of the ride, lost in thought. Medica thought he had upset her, but really, she was just overwhelmed. Later, while walking around the park, the group bumped into a mascot. Minami wanted pictures, so they split up to buy food. Mona and Medica ended up alone in line at a food stall with a special discount for couples, but only if they kissed. The vendor asked them to prove they were a couple with a kiss. Medica was paralyzed, but Mona, she hesitated. She wanted to. She leaned in, closer and closer, but the moment just slipped away. Right as Medica puckered up slightly, Mona's courage vanished. Embarrassed, they gave up on the discount and paid full price. Mona returned to the group feeling dejected, and Saji, ever persistent, had more plans up her sleeve. Each new ride seemed like another romantic trap set by her, while Mona watched from the bathroom, exhausted and overwhelmed. Tomo pulled Mona aside, demanding to know if she was really going to let Saji steal her first love. Mona denied everything, flustered, but Tomo just smiled. She was thrilled to finally see Mona drop her act and be herself. She reminded Mona how, back in school, she'd always claimed to never be interested in boys, but still joined every conversation about them. Tomo always suspected Mona wore a mask to please everyone. But now, around Medica, Mona was finally being genuine. Tomo encouraged her. "You don't need to hide anymore. Just be you." Later, while Mona was lost in reflection, her phone was knocked from her hand and sank into a fountain. No contact, no backup. To make things worse, a group of shady guys approached her. Meanwhile, the others realized she was missing. Sagi wanted to help find her, but Medica asked her to stay put. He'd go himself. Sagi was annoyed, especially because Minami insisted she hold on to her double-scoop ice cream. Back at the fountain, the guys kept pressing Mona. She wanted to tell them off, but didn't know how. Thankfully, Medica arrived just in time, his serious glare enough to make the guys back off. To sell the act, Mona suddenly claimed she was his girlfriend. The guys weren't convinced until they saw Medica's intense stare. They quickly scattered. Mona, still flustered, thanked him but couldn't look him in the eyes. They both went to call the group, but fate wasn't done with them yet. Another crowd rushed in, and Medica's phone met the same watery fate as hers. With no way to contact anyone, the two were now stuck alone. Medica noticed the Ferris wheel. Mona saw it too, and, though nervous, she agreed to ride it with him. As the wheel turned, he marveled at the view while Mona could barely breathe from nerves. She looked in the glass and barely recognized herself. All of Tomo's words echoed in her mind. Around Medica, she was different. She was real. She started to believe. Maybe this was her first love. Deep in thought, she leaned in without realizing and tripped, falling right on top of him. She jumped back, heart pounding, her face flushed. Was she in love? Covering her face, she begged Medica not to look at her. "I'm not pretty right now," she said. But Medica replied, "You actually look beautiful." Then added, "Though sometimes you act weird. It confuses me." That stung. Mona slumped in embarrassment. Did Medica have a bad impression of her? Medica noticed and quickly apologized. "I'm just not good at saying things the right way. I worry I upset you without meaning to." Medica hesitated at first, but finally managed to say what he meant. When Mona acts weird, she actually looks even more beautiful to him. That unexpected comment hits Mona like a truck. She clutches her chest, feeling something odd thumping hard. Could this be love? No. She doesn't want to be the one falling. She wants him to fall for her. But as soon as she sees Medica's innocent smile, she realizes it's too late. She's completely and helplessly in love. They return to the group, and though they act like nothing happened, both are visibly flustered. When Mona sees Tomo waiting, her face turns beet red. Yep, Tomo was right about everything. Before Mona can even process it, Saki charges at her, demanding answers. "What were you two doing alone for so long?" she barks. The group wants to grab food next, but Mona declines, still too overwhelmed to join them. They agree to reschedule, and everyone heads home. On the train, Tomo asks Mona if something happened between her and Medica. Mona, of course, denies it until she breaks down and tells Tomo everything. She says Medica might have figured out she gets nervous around him, but he actually said that was cute. Tomo grins wide. "So, you finally realize you're in love, huh?" She even teases Mona to ask Medica to walk her home. Mona refuses, obviously. Later, she tracks down Saki for a serious talk. Nervously, Mona confesses. She's in love with Medica. Saki? Not surprised at all. "Took you long enough," she says, smirking. Now that Mona's finally honest with herself, Saki feels they can truly fight on even ground. Let's see whose feelings are stronger. Mona accepts the challenge. She's not backing down. But all this emotional stress catches up with her. Mona gets sick and starts doubting everything. She always wanted to be loved by others, but now that she is the one in love, she has no idea what comes next. The next morning, she video calls Tomo, looking exhausted. Mona says she feels down because of her fever, but Tomo isn't buying it. "You miss Medica, that's all." And to make things worse, or better, Tomo actually drags Medica into the room to speak to her. Mona panics, hair a mess in her pajamas, totally unprepared. Medica, trying to be polite, acts cool, but he's visibly flustered. Tomo winks and leaves them alone. Mona almost ends the call, thinking she's being a burden, but Medica stops her. "You're not a bother. I was just nervous because, well, you looked..." And he cuts himself off. Mona softens, and the two start chatting about school, the trip, everything and nothing. Before she knows it, she's smiling like an idiot. She's still sick, but her heart is full. That is, until her mom knocks, asking who she's talking to so excitedly. In a panic, Mona hides the tablet under the blanket, accidentally flashing Medica something she really shouldn't have. He freezes. Mona realizes what happened, screams, and throws the tablet away in shame. Medica ends the call and plunges his head under cold water, repeating, "Cleanse your thoughts," like a monk. Days later, Mona finally recovers and thinks, if just talking to Medica made her this happy, imagine what being with him would feel like. She's decided. She's going to win this. She'll make Medica hers, even if she has to fight tooth and nail against Saki. And though she's too proud to say it, she's deeply thankful for Tomo's help. Now the real battle begins. But there's just one problem. When she looks at Medica now, he's so dazzling that she can't even form words. A glance from him is enough to turn her into mush. A touch makes her lose her balance. So for now, Mona makes a tactical retreat, pretending she's still recovering. Tomo, of course, sees right through her and laughs. But this is just the beginning. Mona's heart is all in now, and she's ready to fight to the end for the boy she never thought she'd fall for.